Hi everybody, it's Dixie. Um, Coming to you tonight. Talk about some cross stitching. Um, I've been cross stitching since I was about 10 years old. Um, I was taught in school by my school teachers. I was bused many miles to school, and when we would get to school, we'd get there very early in the morning, and we would have to wait about an hour before the school would start. So to fill in the time, they usually had us go to the gymnasium to watch videos. A lot of us girls didn't want to watch videos, so we got with the teachers, and the teachers decided what they were going to do was teach us girls how to cross stitch, knit, crochet that year. So about every quarter we would change to a new subject. And the very first one they taught us was knitting. And they would teach us to make headbands, belts, simple little things, bracelets, that kind of thing. And then it was up to us to learn, take it from there and try and expand it. But through the years, I have expanded it into sweaters and tops and dresses and all that kind of stuff. And then they did the same on the next quarter. We would go to we went to crochet, and I loved them all. I loved them all. And again, we just did headbands and bracelets, that kind of thing. Then on the last quarter, they taught us how to cross stitch, and that one really resonated with me for many years. That was my go-to. I mean, I would do a little bit of knitting, and I would do a little bit of cross stitching or crocheting. But my real love was cross stitch, counted cross stitch, and she would start us out on little designs that were no more than a couple inches tall by a couple inches wide, and they would be little bunnies doing planting flowers, little bunnies pulling up a carrot, little bunnies, that kind of thing. And I still have them around here somewhere, but that's basically how I started cross stitching, and I did this from the age of 10. I'm now 58 years old, so I've been cross stitching for many, many, many years. And I had gotten very bored with cross stitching um, easy stuff, like, because I had been doing this since 10 years old. It's like everything became way too easy, like as I was going through. And what I mean is, I have I have books of all kinds on cross stitching patterns. I have books like of all kinds. I have magazines. I have stacks of magazines throughout the years that I've collected. Um, like just cross stitch and the cross stitcher, and I got the British cross stitcher magazines. I got the regular American cross stitcher magazines, as you can see. um, I got cross stitch Christmas magazines. I've got, you name it, I've got them. I've got charts that I've bought through the years. I've got all kinds of stuff here that I've collected through the years, and that all was good for many years. That was great. But then it became I became bored with it, and so my projects had to become harder and harder to do. So probably about 20 years ago, back in 1997, 98, um 96, 97, 98, somewhere in there, was when we got our first computer. And I went out to the hobby shop and I bought me some software called Pattern Maker. And it's very simple to operate. I love it. And so I started doing images like my children's baby photos, that kind of thing. Photos, a lot of my favorite photos. Or I would buy like the lavender and lace, the expert stuff. The really, really hard to do, micro tiny fine stitch type stuff. And so that's what I did. And so so through the years I've done projects like this. This was like my first lavender and lace one. And if you, I don't know if you can tell, let me see if I can get her in close enough here. But if you see her face is stitched 1/8 of a square. So it's micro tiny. It's not stitched by the whole square. It's, you take one corner of that square, and that was that one stitch. Her face was difficult to do. I don't know if I can get it in any closer for you to see it. But if you look at her face stitches are so much smaller than the rest of the stitches on the whole piece. This piece took me probably about a year to a year and a half to do. I was so proud of it when I got done. It did have back stitching. It does have beading. As you can see, the swirls are pearl beads. I did have this framed. I did have this matted at Hobby Lobby. And it did have glass, but when we moved here about 6 years ago, when we moved, the glass had gotten broken. I had just removed the glass just before filming this, so the glass is sitting over here on the desk. But I didn't know if you guys would be able to see through all the cracks, so I removed the glass. But she was my very first really hard project that I did, and I did her probably about 15, 20 years ago. Then, like I said, I started doing things like family photos. This is a photo, and I hope you can see it. Let me pop off my screen so that that'll cut down on a little bit of the glare. This is a photo that I cross-stitched, that I used my pattern maker. I made this pattern in my pattern maker, and let me try something else here. Let me try doing this, and let's see if we can do it. Like, nope, that made it worse. Okay, nope, that made it worse. Well, in any case, all right. But that is a picture of me. That is my baby photo. And what I did was I took and I bought a shadow box. And I put in some dried flowers and whatnot around the image. And it's in a shadow box. And you can tell it's been kind of rough housed a little bit through the years. I probably did, this was probably done probably 15 years ago. Okay, so I have many other images I could show you. I could go on all day and all day and all day. But I really like the extremely the harder it is, the more I like it. Is the kind of stuff that I do now. I had to drop cross stitch over the last year, the last year and a half to 2 years. I have not cross stitched hardly at all, very little, due to I have cataracts, and you'll see me keep pushing my glasses up, because when I push my glasses straight up against my eyes, I can see you guys perfectly. But once I let go, the cataract. I mean, the glasses don't hold the vision. And hence, that's right, guys, one more time, I'm going to stress this. If you see me writing to you on the videos, I do get confused with the keys because I can't see them very clearly on the keyboard. I'm guessing where they're at. And a lot of times I'll hit the caps to make the print bigger so that I can see it. But then I sometimes forget to unhit it. So you'll see a combination of smaller and bigger, and that's just because my eyes, I'm trying to see through the, I have bicycle spoke cataracts, which means that the spokes move in my eyes. And so when I'm trying to see, one minute I might see clear and the next minute I might have that fog over my eyes. So it's hard for me to see. So that's the reason behind that. So please, please be a little bit understanding with me on that. I'm not doing it to be hollering at nobody. Okay, I just printed off a free cross stitch chart. I think that we're okay to use this for an example because it was free. I got this off of DMC's website. And I think it's fine to use because it does not it was on their site for free, so I believe we can go ahead and use it. And as you can see, it says right here DMC, and it says free. It says free right on it, free. So I think we could go ahead and use this. I want to try and kind of teach you guys something real quick tonight here. I know a lot of you are trying to become or learn. Here, let me tilt you down just a smidge here. I know that many of you guys are trying to learn cross stitch right now. Cross stitch, counted cross stitch, and printed cross stitch are different. Printed cross stitch is actually easier, not harder. Okay, the printed cross stitch on the fabric is when they print all the symbols right on the fabric. All you got to do is follow it. You know, it's easier. This one is counted cross stitch. Okay, you'll see where you'll have now on this one, this gave me a, and this is actually very rare to find patterns this way, but this one goes over telling you about the fabric, telling you about the count, and it basically, it just says the size of your design depends on the cross stitch fabric that you use. Okay, so it's gonna matter. It's going to depend. The higher the fabric's count is, the smaller the stitches. Therefore, your design is going to be smaller. Okay, we recommend beginners start with a 14 count Aida, and the most common cross stitch fabric used, which is what we have based our design on, is I believe they're using 14 count. 14 count Aida is actually the count that is most used in most charts. You doesn't mean you can't use that chart for a different Aida cloth. It just means that if you use an Aida cloth that has smaller holes, then and I should have pulled you guys out different Aidas. Give me 1 second. Not sure if I've let's see if I can find some different examples here. All right. Whoa, gonna knock that glass off that desk. Okay, I'm not sure if I pulled out some bigger and smaller or not. Here, let's take a quick look. My biggest box is in the closet, and I can't get to that right now. I could probably show that on another video. A better view of the different sizes side by side. But this one is actually a 14 count. This is the most used count. Okay? Now, this one, I believe, I think this one is a 16 or an 18. This might be a 14. This one is a 16 or an 18. Okay, I believe this one in white is your 14. Let's see if we can get a little more light here. Oh yeah, that helped a lot. Okay, this is 14. Okay, this one, I believe is, this one I did not stitch. This one my daughter stitched. But you could do things like this when you're cross stitching. You can buy little charms. And you can, she tacked this charm on here. This was actually for her friend Jessica. But if you see the material on this one, the holes are a lot smaller. So the higher number that you go, the smaller your holes are going to be. Now, compare them. Let's see if we can compare them. Let's see here. I want to get that tape out of the way here. So you see the difference in the cloth? This one is a lot smaller and it is smoother. This one is a little rougher and the squares are bigger. Do you see that? See the difference in the sizes? This one, the fairy that I just, this one was called Fairy Godmother. Fairy Godmother. But if you see this one was stitched on linen. This is a linen. This was extremely hard. It's hard to keep the rows straight. If you really get a close-up look, especially in her face right here, if you get a very, very, very close-up look, you'll see where I kind of got a little crooked at times. And it's extremely hard to work on linen. I suggest that you get good at cross-stitch before you even try it. But, yeah. This is one that I did years ago. Of a little mouse in a sugar bowl. Okay. And you'll see that I always tape the edges on my projects. Now, I don't always use duct tape, but I usually use masking tape. Masking tape does not leave a residue unless you leave it on there for a long, long time. But that residue it does leave behind does come out. It dries up and gets powdery, and it does come out in the wash. So a lot of times I will wash my patterns when I'm done with them. I will hand wash them in a little warm, lightly soapy water. And you'd be amazed how much dirt comes out of them when you get done with them. But I mean, I've done all kinds of things. I mean, here's I could have used this for my example. A Santa pattern. But you'll see all kinds of different ones. Here's one of a kitty in a stocking. This is back in the days when I did the easier stuff, guys. Now, I want to point out one thing. Through the years, your Aida cloth will discolor. It will just naturally discolor. So every once in a while, you do want to make sure that you are pulling them out and you are cleaning them up. Two different ones here. This one's got a bell. This one's got a star. But, I mean, you'll see another one with a star and a bell, a stocking. So, I mean, you will see, some of these my daughter did. This one my daughter did. Cute, isn't it? Was an Easter one. Oh, my daughter did this one too. But, so what I want to do real quick, is I want to go over some things with you guys. Just real quick, here tonight. Now, I printed off, I'm like, okay, where did my, okay, I printed off some charts. I printed off this chart. Now, I did not look for the colors yet, but I do keep my flosses. I'll just pull out a couple of them here for you. Okay. All right. I keep my flosses in these. I keep them in a drawer that's underneath my television set, away from light. I've had these flosses for 30, 40 years, most of them. And I did not have any problems with them as far as fading. I did have a couple go bad and fade, but I just threw them away and went and bought new. But for the most part, I don't have problems with fading on them. But as you can see, my flosses are all right there, and they all look perfectly fine. I do code them. If I can get one out here. This one's on a paper one. These paper ones are really old. That's number 907. Okay. And I've got them in here in numerical order here. But in this box, this particular box goes from the 900s all the way up to 3051. So I have them each in an order. I did not pull them all out. I just pulled out a couple to show you here. But here's another one. This particular one is numbered 3053 through 3813. So this one's numbered 38 through 3813. I pulled out an extra clear one, but I always keep extra ones on hand so that if I find more floss. I did try to use this with the beads, but it did not work out so well with for me with beads. But for the resins, it did not work for me for that. They kept getting over into the other, so I do not like these for the beads. but they are fine for the cross stitch threads. This is my what I normally do is I'll go through and I'll pull out what I need for a pattern, and then I'll put it in the smaller one. And I will use this one for like smaller projects, or I will use this combined with one of these empty ones for a larger one. I have a larger one started, but I couldn't find it tonight. I don't know where I put it, and I just moved my room around in here, so I'll have to find it. When you buy kits, you will get floss that's on a strip with little holes. And then they will be labeled up above what color they are. I prefer DMC. I've done Anchor. I've done all the others, JP Coats. I've tried them all, and I do not like any of them as much as I like DMC. DMC, JP Coats fades. I don't even know if they're even around anymore. And I've tried some of the op brands that like I think it's Joann's, or it's either Joann's or John Hancock's fabric stores sells their brands, and I don't like them. I don't waste my money on them. Their colors are off. They're not as good. Stick with DMC if you're gonna cross stitch, okay? It's worth the money that you pay for them. But when you buy them in the stores, they come in skeins like this. So you see I pulled out a few here. I just pulled out a little array of color here. But you will find they're in skeins like this. Back in my day, these skeins costed probably about $0.10 a piece. When I first started cross stitching, they are now, I believe they are almost $1 a skein now. So it's really has gotten. I have every single floss color there is in the DMC line. I do not have the glow in the darks or anything like that. Those types, I've never had a project that really called for them, so I never invested in them. But they don't fascinate me all that much. And but I stick with DMC thread. So when you print up, or when you get a chart, you're going to have a legend. Okay? You're going to have a legend. And your legend is going to tell you, it's going to show you your box of color. And then it's going to have your color number on the side. Like I said, I got this off a DMC site. So these are DMC numbered. So if you can see, they are DMC numbered. And then this column here just tells you how many you're going to need. So you're going to need of each, how many skeins you're going to need. A skein is this. This is one skein. Okay. This number on this far side is telling you you're going to need one skein. One skein, one skein, one skein, one skein, one skein. Up here at the top, they're kind enough to give you, because if you're a beginner, they're kind enough to give you an example how to thread your needle, how to separate your yarn, how to start your cross stitches, how to cross them, and how to go through your material. Then you're going to get your chart. Most times your chart is not going to be on one single page. Your chart will continue, like if you get it from a magazine, it will continue all from this page to this page. Almost every single time, most charts have a shaded area. Now for this example, they gave us a very dark shade. They're usually just a light gray. Okay, they're just a really faint gray most of the time. So you're not going to always see them darken in color like this. This is just basically to help you as a newbie understand that this is your, okay. But what this line means is that this continues to another page. Okay? So on the next page, you're going to see, voila, the blue line appears on the second page. Okay? So when you're cross stitching and you get to that blue line, if you're starting with this, like, I believe, okay, this is page 1. So if you're starting on page 1, no, wait a minute. Yes. So it goes like this. So it goes like this, guys. So if you're starting on page 1 and you work your way across and you get to the blue line, you do the blue line. You do whatever symbols are in the blue line. Okay? But when you cross over to the second page, you do not do the symbols that are in this blue line. The symbols that are in this blue line are a repeat of this blue line. Okay? Do you see what I'm saying? So we're not going to do the stitches from this blue line. We're going to continue the very first row next to the blue line against where we left off on this blue line. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Okay. Now, when we're cross stitching and we go to start out, our pattern will have arrows. Okay. So let's see if I can get in here, guys. I don't have a fancy camera. I'm just using my cell. But you're going to see right up here, this arrow here, and right over on this other side right here, you'll see an arrow. Do you see it? So we have an arrow here, and we have an arrow up here. Now, this one tells us this is center of our pattern. Okay? So again, if you look over here onto this one, you're going to see our arrow again. Okay? Do you see it right here? There's our arrow.